Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Steven Inks, and in today's episode I am retreading the least popular video I have ever put on this channel twice. Because every year that I make a video about decorating wrapping paper for Christmas presents, it always gets less than 100 views, no matter how many subscribers I have, and so in recognition that I never learn anything from my lessons, here's that exact same video again. As a matter of fact, I really hope you and the 98 other people who watch it really enjoy it a lot. It's so much fun for me to make. Here we go. Okay, so here's another messy look at my sketchbook. These are some of the ideas that I entertained. Some I didn't even bring past the inking stage because I thought of a better version. The main theme this year is books because my sister has a degree in library science. She just graduated this last year, which is amazing. And she had an entire baby during that time, which is also something I could never do. I don't even have a uterus, so props to her. And so I'm thinking of things that are Christmassy and also kind of book-ish. So we've got some ideas here, like the two snowmen reading a book. I like that one. The candy cane as bookmark turned out pretty cool. Some things are just kind of general Christmassy things, like a bow with jingle bells. We've got an elf reading a book down here. Some trees in a book. Santa's sleigh. I think I'm not going to use this one because the shape of it is so different from the other ones. I kind of want the shapes to be contained so that they can fit on the paper right. And then there's also, I like this little penguin with a book on its head. Hot cocoa. Bookshelf. I'm being a little more organized in how I put them on the paper as well. So down here you can see I'm thinking about doing sort of like a hexagonal shape because I can do sort of this honeycomb pattern all throughout the paper and keep it very consistent. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I want to have 6 drawings that I kind of come back to and rotate around this paper. I think I've got what I need there. And as far as the equipment that we'll be using, I'm going to be using this Kuretake 15 brush pen. Just move that out of the... Just going to put some white paper on the background so we get good focus here. This is... The reason I'm using this is I think that brush pens give a nice little character, and that'll give me something interesting to play with. And then I also realized that my sister actually gave me this for Christmas 2 years ago, so it's kind of like the gift that keeps on giving back. Plus, brush pens are hard, and I've never actually done any type of video review of this pen, so we're going to look at this thing up close as well. I really do like this pen. In addition to that, to give us some other colors, we are using some white. And this is acrylic ink, which I'm assuming is just, it says Dollar and Brownie. I don't know. I forget where I got this from. I think I got it at Michael's. And it's a white acrylic ink, which I'm assuming is basically a watered down acrylic paint. Someone correct me if I'm wrong about that. But it has a sort of a milky, opaque texture. This is not fountain pen ink. It is not going in a fountain pen. It is actually going in this pen holder, nib holder thing, which has a Jinhao fountain pen nib in it. I can't remember where I got this from, but it's basically the Jinhao medium, I believe. So some nice thick white lines. I'll be using 3M... what's it called? 3M craft paper, which is a nice brown colored paper. So the brown is the mid-tone, and we have white for the highlights, and we have black for the shadow lines or the outlines. And what it's going to look like, essentially, is this. So I did a little mock-up, and I'm going to need to move my camera around to get a better picture of it. So we have penguin here, and this is the bow, the book, We've got some examples of the trees, the bookshelf, the elf reading, hot cocoa, snowman. And I decided to change the angle for the bookmark one. I'm still figuring this out. As you can see, it's not very consistent looking. I realized that I was doing things at different sizes because of the detail level of my drawings, which means that I actually should make these drawings bigger because I liked things like this bookshelf and this tree thing better than the elf or the penguin, which are quite small, and I could always scale those up. So I'm going to be spreading out the drawings, which means I will have to do less of them, but also could be quite useful to do it that way. So that's what I'm going to be doing, and let's move on to the next step. Okay, before we go into the nitty-gritty of the drawing, I thought maybe we want to take a look at this pen. Yeah, so I said before this was the Kuretake 15. It's actually the Kuretake 13. I apologize. However, I would like to point out to all pen manufacturers everywhere, please give your pen an actual name. Talking to you, Pen BBS, as well as Kuretake. So this is the second Kuretake pen, brush pen that I've talked about on this channel. The first one being the Kuretake 8, which kind of looks like an eyeliner application brush, but you can essentially see that both of these essentially have the same tip. I don't see a difference at all. The colorway is different. Obviously, the shape of the body is different. They're both very light, plasticky pens, so they don't feel super substantial. But if you would like, in the future, I do have a third Kuretake pen, which is not made of plastic, that I actually like very much, that I might consider reviewing for you. Let me know if that's something you're interested in, or a comparison of all three. I do think this one looks way nicer. It's shiny on the outside. The clip it's a clip. It works. It's not very good or bad, I would say. Really, what we're looking at here is a pen that's a brush. And these are real bristles. Unlike a lot of brush pens that you can find, these are actual real bristles, and you can feel the line that they make feels like a brushed ink. Inside, I actually have a Kuretake cartridge. For reasons that I still do not understand and no one has explained to me, Kuretake pens perfectly fit platinum cartridges, so if you would like to use a different color ink or a different type of ink with a different quality, this is non-waterproof black ink, you're welcome to do that. I think the Kuretake black ink is quite nice. I also think that the platinum converter is quite expensive, so not all of my brush pens have a converter in them. It posts nicely. It's a comfortable size for a pen, and you can pull back a little bit if you really want to. It's an all-around great workhorse pen. Let me grab a blank page here and give you some idea of the type of lines you can get with this pen. So if you're very careful, you can get very light. Most of that did not show up in the camera. I apologize. You can get very light lines. Push down with a little more force. This is about, I think, where most of us would be with what's it called, with fountain pen. This is about the pressure I would use with a fountain pen, but you can go a lot lighter, and it's easier to get really thin lines if you angle up a little more. So obviously you could tell that these are not uniformly thin lines, and that's part of the charm of the pen, so don't beat yourself up about that. And if you want super thin, you can do super thin. It takes a lot more patience to do this correctly. I'm not doing it correctly right now. I'm doing it incorrectly because I am going fast. And part of that is just me wanting to get to the drawing part. And the other part is me showing you what the limitations of a pen like this are. And if you go fast, you get some of that dry brush effect. If I really wanted to make sure I got everything, I would just go a bit slower. And then I would get those lines. So you could do something as thin as this. You could do something as thick as this. You could do, what I'm planning on probably going to be doing is something like this, somewhere in the middle. Not the thinnest lines, but not necessarily the thickest either. And some of the lines will be thicker than others. And I don't really like doing drawings where the black is completely a solid shape. You definitely can do that, but I do like, when I'm drawing something, I like having a bit of texture in there. So even if I have to layer that texture, it does matter with this kind of pen if you're doing an upstroke or a downstroke, because that shows you where it's going to be thin here. So you can do very smooth, but if you're doing some like hatching, you want to start practicing the other kinds. So my focus is off there. Versus upstroke versus downstroke, you're going to get different shapes. Not one is correct or incorrect. It's just that you will get those effects, and even left to right, right to left, they're slightly different from each other. Be aware of that and choose your angle correctly when you're using a brush pen. Those are kind of my things that I need to know, need you to know. And let's just do a little art advice before we get into the drawing part. Art advice. Get the entire idea figured out. But in addition to that, one more piece of advice. Draw to think. So I find that the best pieces I've ever done, I've actually done before. I do drawings and sketches beforehand when I'm trying to figure something out. And drawing is a form of thinking. It's a form of brainstorming. So when you are creating something brand new, the best version is going to be the one where you have every single idea figured out. What's the angle? What's the shape of this piece? What does that look like? What are the costumes if you've got characters? And draw everything with no ideas until you figure out which ideas work, and then use those ideas. That seems probably kind of simple and obvious, but you'd be surprised how many times people wonder, oh, how do I create something that looks so good? When I create something that looks good, let's be honest, it's not always. It's because I've drawn it 10 times, 15 times, and figured out all the things that I want it to look like. Sometimes you have to draw to figure out what you don't know. I don't know what this type of character will be wearing. I'm seeing a sketch actually here from one of my drawings when I compared the Platinum 3776 Century to the Platinum Preppy, and you can kind of see, if you've seen that drawing, remember what it is. It was a minecart and two characters dressed in miner's clothes. I had to look up miner's clothes. I didn't realize that I didn't know what a miner would wear. And so that was something I realized after I started drawing it. So draw to think, and here are my thoughts on paper. Happy holidays, everybody. Hope you enjoy this video. Final thoughts. I hope you're having a happy holiday, whatever holiday you do or do not celebrate. I'm going to continue to make videos that I like on this channel. I hope you really enjoyed this one, and I hope you do enjoy the next one that I'm going to give to you as soon as it's ready. So again, happy holidays, and stay well. Enjoy time with your family or friends or whoever's near you. And see you next time.